Here's a lesson that I learned the hard way on the spiritual path. Your mind is really powerful. There's no two ways about it. And it's great for directing your attention and your focus and your beliefs and your thoughts to generate the kind of life that you want. But there is a part of your equation for how you generate your life and for how you come into alignment with your soul and for how you live your purpose and for how you manifest amazing things in your life. And if you don't get this other part of the equation on point, it doesn't matter what you do with your mind, it ends up feeling like a tussle and a struggle. And that other piece of the puzzle is your energy and your emotions. Your emotions are energy in motion. And the power for creating your life and for manifesting and for increasing your vibrational frequency and for aligning with your soul is far beyond just what's going on in your mind and managing your thoughts and directing your attention. You want to understand the power of your energy and how to put it into action to support you.
You're listening to Practical Spirituality with B, the podcast with spiritual advice for your everyday life, helping you align with your soul so you can live with purpose, fulfillment, and magic. I'm Bernadette Logue. You can call me B, and I'm excited to share this episode with you.
Oh, welcome back. I'm so excited to have you here for this new episode. We're going to be talking about energy in action, specifically the power of emotional cleansing and supporting your manifesting of outcomes in your life by understanding how to clear emotions and put your energy in action. So I'm joined in this episode by Sherry-Anna Boyle, who is an author of 10 books, her latest book being Energy in Action. She's also an emotional detox coach, an awesome woman who the universe brought into my life just 48 hours ago at the time of this recording. And it was like divine moment, like a providence, like a synchronicity, because her messages are so aligned to what I need to be receiving right now as a very left-brained, logical mind person to remind me to get in emotional and energetic balance as a priority at all times when you're wanting to progress on your path and you're wanting to move your life in a certain direction that your soul is yearning for, that life is calling you into. You cannot get away from understanding the power of your energy in action, and your emotions are a big piece of that. And if you are wanting to overcome something in your life or achieve something beautiful in your life, draw something into your life, manifest outcomes, then it is not just about setting your mind to something and focusing on that a lot and using the power of your thoughts, because the fuel in the tank for you in your life and manifesting, what gives fire and fuel to whatever it is you set your mind to, is your emotional state. And if you are busy struggling and tussling with trying to manifest something in your life, and your state is stress, fear, anxiety, struggle, holding on to the past, trauma, unease, tension, doubt, worry, then you can set your mind to whatever you want, but your energetic message to life is whatever your emotional state is. So Sherry-Anna is going to talk to us about energy in action, this amazing, very simple emotional cleansing that we can do that helps us to come into natural alignment with the spiritual laws of the universe, with the divine energy, the light that's streaming in and wants to support us and help us in manifesting outcomes. And really, as she says, it's not about using your mind and doing the hard work all the time. It's actually about letting your energy do the work for you and giving your mind a rest. She says sometimes less is more, and don't we love the sound of that? So we're going to dive in and hear from Sherry-Anna now. Welcome, Sherry-Anna. I'm so pleased to have you here for this episode.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
And as we were just talking about before we started, I got a copy of your book today and I took a squiz, and 50 pages in, I had not put it down. It's amazing. It's amazing. So, Energy in Action is the name of your new book. And I liked there was like a little byline on the promo saying, let your energy do the work for you and give your mind a rest. Like, who doesn't want that? So can you share with people what this book is about? Because it's actually really layered and very powerful. So can you just tell us a little bit about where this came from, what prompted you? Because you've authored 10 books. So what brought this book to life?
There's so many ways I can answer that question, Bernadette, because there were so many little signs and synchronicities that this book was coming through me. And many of the books just start to channel through. And very often, I think many authors experience this. You're an author, that sometimes we write about the very things that we need. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so again, it was my 10th book, and it's been a bit of a hustle, with these books and in this line of work. And a lot of what they don't tell you is the book writing is the fun part, right? And then as you continue on, there's a lot of work. There's a lot of that goes behind producing a book, having it come to life, teaching the content. And I felt like I wanted to do things differently. I thought I don't want to have this grind anymore, that so many of us feel in terms of doing more. What are you doing now? What have you done lately? Kind of mentality. And that's sometimes what you get when you publish it with traditional publishers, is they want to know, what are you up to? And then what are your plans, kind of thing. And that's all well and good, but I just kept thinking about these spiritual laws. And it really doesn't align with what they teach us. So it's like a flip-flop. You hear what society tells you, and then you go to these laws, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's like totally different. So energy in action, I was like, how do I do this? How do I live in accordance with these laws and these teachings? And I knew that emotions were going to be a big part of that, because I had written so many books on emotions. I had developed a system called Cleanse, which is an energy in action. And it's the 7 steps of an emotional processing. So teaches you how to process your emotions. I built foundations around that in my emotional detox book series. And so I knew that it was going to be something that had to do with emotions. Absolutely knew that. So I started to play with it, as many of us begin these creative projects, is just introducing the idea, okay, how do I live in accordance with the laws? Why do I want to live in accordance with the laws? What does that mean to me? What are they exactly? And needed to get to know that. Heard a lot about the law of attraction, right? Like so many of us, perhaps felt like I knew it, but I didn't know it, kind of thing. And so it was really a real curiosity. And then as I'm incorporating this curiosity into my already established practices, which was Cleanse, had already been established in me. Again, it's the 7 steps of an emotional detox, emotional processing. That's when these new technologies, if you will, these new sources of support to help us align with the spiritual laws started to channel through. And that is the rays of light, which is what you and I were just speaking about.
Beautiful, beautiful. And so what I love about this book already, and I'm only 50 pages in, is that this is coming from someone who is an emotional detox coach. You've been doing this for a very long time. You've written other books about it. It's very clear that you're like on point about that. And that everybody now knows, that's deeply in the spiritual path, that the emotions and the energy and motion inside your body is a large part of what's making up your experience of your world and your reality. And it's dictating your experience of life, right? There's the mind, but there's all the emotions, the energy, the nervous system. But I love this book is the intersection of that with, oh, and you want to manifest some stuff? Oh, good luck with just trying to think about that and think your thoughts to make yourself manifest the thing that's in your thoughts, when really the universe is a vibrational, energetic experience. So you've brought the emotional cleansing to bring a calm and alignment with these spiritual laws, such that manifesting is a flow-on consequence, not a grinding effort to try to control your mind. Is that 50 pages in? Is that where we're going?
Yes, you're very clear on that. In fact, I think when we focus on our thoughts, which is how I was doing it as well, that's the information I sort of got from the whole law of attraction thing was, okay, change your thoughts, change your reality, and then you'll draw in more of what you want. Mm-hmm. And what I've found is that that actually takes a lot more energy. And changing your thoughts and focusing on your thoughts, it's work. And it's a slippery slope, because you change them and then you go back, and then you change them and you go back, right?
Gravity.
Right. And so the thing that I have found through emotional processing over the years, since I've written all these books, is that the emotions, when they're in a processing state, will do that for you quite effortlessly. So when you focus on your thoughts, very often you're focusing on a trigger. And why would we try to change a trigger? Because triggers aren't even real. They're very often based on illusion. They're just a sign. In my world, a trigger is a sign that you have an emotion that is looking to be processed. It's a reaction. So why am I trying to change a trigger when the trigger is really, and again, I'm referring to thoughts. I think most of them are triggers. Why are we dancing with our thoughts? It's like you go in a circle. It becomes a cycle. And maybe it feels a little bit better for a little while. Of course, having a positive thought, we know, feels better. But then we revert back, and it just feels like so much effort. And then all of a sudden we're on this treadmill of manifesting, when in fact, we're just working our asses off, Bernadette.
You're fighting against, right? You're fighting against your programming. And the thing is the emotions are entangled with the thoughts are entangled with the emotions. So a mental focus without acknowledgement of the physiology, the energy of the emotions, the nervous system is missing a piece of the puzzle. And I love what you say about how when you do emotional processing and cleansing, how it actually starts to create the release in the thought patterns themselves. We understand this, right? About how thoughts are ingrained, beliefs are ingrained, the emotional component that glues them in. But I love how this is tied to spiritual laws and manifesting. Because it's a thing on its own, the whole emotional cleansing. And then now you're linking that with this really interesting truth about reality, the spiritual laws, and how we're creating our lives. And some listeners will be like, I want to get a bigger house, and I want to get the love of my life, and I want to do these things. And some people will be like, I want to live my soul-aligned purpose with divinity flowing through me, whatever that looks like. Those are all still manifesting. They're just coming from different angles about what it is that you're up for at this time in your life, right? So can you just talk through a little bit about how the cleansing of the emotions works with the spiritual laws, works with the rays of light?
Sure. If you don't mind, just can I make a comment just on the idea that some people will do it for purpose and some people will do it for the car, the house, or whatever. I think it's okay to do both. It's just totally a matter of, and you can have all of that and more. I think when we focus on the physical, we're limiting ourselves. I say that's easy, right? In terms of, yeah, you can manifest the bigger house, the car, but the thing that can happen with emotions is when you start to process them, what's going to happen is your intuition increases and your guidance is going to shift. And if I'm so stuck on the car and the house, honestly, I might miss the guidance. So they're really kind of connected, the soul purpose thing. And I think sometimes we're so headstrong. Oh, but I'm supposed to be getting the house. I'm not supposed to be going over here manifesting this, right? But that's just not how the soul works. So it's, if that happens, bonus, right? That's just, oh, wow. But what I'm saying is just allow your emotions to be processed. Your intuition is naturally going to go up. You're going to become more in line with how the spiritual laws of the universe work. And then you're going to have to pay attention and really learn to trust that inner guidance and let go of the attachment of what you think you were creating and sort of let it happen naturally.
Right. You can be fixated on what you want, but there's what the mind wants and there's what the soul wants. And sometimes they're the same thing, but sometimes they're not. And I think that's the courage to realize that if your soul is taking you down a path that doesn't align what your mind had set intention on, it's going to be way better.
Yeah.
But it's a trust in that.
Exactly. It could be better than you think. It's probably better than you think. I think that the thinking is the finite. And the spiritual laws are the infinite. So there is a bit of detachment. It's okay to think to yourself, gee, someday I'd love to have a bigger house or go on vacation. That's perfectly fine. But then loosen your grip on that as you move through these processes. And perhaps that does kind of go into your question about the spiritual laws and how it lines us up. And so the spiritual laws, first of all, there's many. I've written about 13. So energy in action is 13 spiritual laws, 13 rays of light, 52 cleanses. So there's 52 cleanse practices. Each chapter is based on a law. So you read about the law, you read about the corresponding ray of light. So what I've done is developed a system. Now, I didn't know I was going to develop a system, just like I developed a system with emotional detox. I had no idea. I just wrote about emotional detoxing, which ended up in the cleanse system. And same thing kind of happened with this book. I never intended, but I thought to myself, I guess I'm more of a practical person. How is somebody going to relate to this? How can they take something so abstract, right? And like emotions they're not tangible. And the spiritual laws is not tangible. How am I going to do that and teach this? And that's where I was channeling and realizing that these systems were going to come together and that they were all going to be pulled into the structure of the cleanse. Now, the reason why we need a structure is because of our brains. Our brains require repetition. So if we're going to change the brain, we do need consistency. It can't be once in a while or when I feel like manifesting something, right? And a lot of times, I know I interpreted it. I don't know. Did you create a vision board, Bernadette?
Yes, many flip files, many books, many vision boards, loved all of it. This consistency thing is like hardcore truth. It doesn't matter what it is. If it doesn't matter if it's your business, manifesting, healing, doesn't matter what it is. It's like show up consistently, and particularly when you're wanting to shift something in your programming, your illusionary small self, and you're wanting to shift into alignment with your spirit and spirit divinity. It's about that consistency for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think people like you and I who do coaching, we've seen that. You know, you see the difference in clients that sign up and they're consistent and they're really, they stick with it for a little while. And then the ones that just kind of try it and then leave kind of thing. I mean, it's like anything, it's like anything in life. And I always think of the quote from Aristotle that says, excellent is not an act, but a habit. And so I know in lots of the way cleanse was developed was me looking at trauma and emotions. And so when I looked at the trauma and emotions, that's when cleanse started to come in. And that first step of the cleanse is called clear reactivity. And the science behind that and the strategy. So there's mindful ways to do that. So there's the structure cleanse, which always repeats every single time you follow step 1 to step 7, which is CLEANSE. That will always stay the same. And what ends up happening is your body starts to feel safe. When you repeat something, it knows, okay, I've done this before. It made me feel better. I'm open and willing to do it again. And each time you practice it, you open up a little bit more and you let your guard down a little bit more. And there's, as you and I have speak about, there's things that you're cleansing that could be from another lifetime. And so you don't know, but you just be open and you trust that the cleanse will take you through. It won't trigger you or traumatize you. That was very important to me to create that. So that very first step, which again is clear reactivity. Now there's multiple ways you can do that. And so each cleanse in the book is a little bit different variation. So you get to experience different tools for that step 1, clearing reactivity. Because what we know in studies about clearing reactivity, and a big part of that is toning your vagus nerve, because that connects to your fight or flight area. And if you're in fight or flight, you're not going to be able to process your emotions. It's just plain and simple. Your body's going to resist it. You're going to have walls up. It can be an illusion like you're doing it, but it's not. People do mindful techniques all the time and they don't realize they're still in fight or flight. You're just going through the motions. It's like being in a relationship, going through the motions. You're not really connecting with each other, right? But you're going through the motions. That can happen with our mindfulness practices. So you have to notice, and I point out, you probably hear a little repetition in that book. You have to notice and you have to learn to observe and you have to witness, and you really get, because there's small little signs that you want to know, this is what it feels not to be in fight or flight. Now my body feels safe. Great. Now I can move on into the next step. And you only get better with that. So the cleanse is your structure. And then you have another structure, which was created by an ancient, in old Egypt. And we're talking before Moses, these laws came out. And these were a civilization that really brought these laws. And they, of course, similar to the Bible and other things, over time, they were influenced. People interpret them differently and with put their own lens on it. But their original pure teachings were meant for everybody, not religion. It didn't have any theology. It was for everybody. And also the original there were some ethics to it. There was a sense of morality there. And I think sometimes people are still looking for that, but not looking for it, kind of thing. So there was a foundation there that it was built on. It wasn't just, live your life, do whatever you want kind of thing. It's kind of like a lot of spiritual practices. There is a discipline, but also very, very open at the same time. And I think that's part of the reason I was very drawn to them. And then the rays of light, which I've layered in, those are equally from ancient times. So we're talking back to the Vedas and the Hindu text, and we've seen them in scripture, and they also were never meant to be exclusive to one religion. They were meant to be shared for everyone. And they're vibrations that are very godlike, source energy, creative energy.
Beautiful. So it's like you've taken us a healing modality. You've got a psychology background and an emotional healing, emotional detoxing, emotional cleansing, and you've put that in a beautiful process, a structured, consistent process, along with these spiritual universal laws that are timeless and these rays of light, which are vibrational frequencies in our reality, in our universe. And it's almost like, for me, when I was reading that first section of the book, it's almost like this emotional cleansing is letting us sink into alignment with our divine nature and therefore access those spiritual laws, align with them, access these rays of light. Because if we are in fight flight, there ain't no, we're running around stressed out and anxious and on edge and trying to control and trying to make things happen. That's a total disconnect from the nature of reality and the true flow of energy, right? In these spiritual laws and in the rays of light.
Yes. And I think that many of the things that we're hoping for and sort of thinking we're working on creating, I'm going to be honest with you, I think they've already been manifested.
Mm.
And it's interesting because I had an experience just yesterday, and I had so I'm in the middle of this book coming out, and the publisher again is like, what are you doing? What's going on? Keep us up to date on everything. And that's just natural and normal when you write your 10th book. They expect more,
Mm-hmm.
right? They don't treat you like it's your first book, and the bar gets higher and higher as you go, as a little bit more pressure gets put on you. And so I'm thinking to myself, okay, what else, I go to that old thinking that we all do. What else can I do here? Right. And I end up having a conversation with, I had a podcast interview, and she says to me, this was a while ago. This was somebody that's pretty big. And she says, don't worry, I put you in for your launch day. And I'm like, what do you mean? And that means she's going to broadcast it on launch day. And I said, how did you know that? And she said, well, you mentioned it in your email. And I said, oh my gosh, I am so grateful for you for doing that. And she said, I don't do that for people. Most people have to wait 45 days before I launch something. And I thought to myself when I got off that with her, here I am thinking, what do I do when I do? It was already manifested months ago.
Yeah.
And she was clear. She's like, I did this a while ago. I marked it off. I put you in there. Honey, I got you covered. I was like, this last few months, I had no idea that it had already come to fruition. And I think that's happening with a lot of us.
Indeed. And I think I really loved how you described it, the things that we're manifesting are already manifested from the perspective of there is no time and there is every possibility in the ether that could occur to your awareness that feels light and right to you is only occurring to you because it's already energetically manifest at some level, and then it's your alignment, your attunement to that radio station, your attunement to that frequency that's bringing that about for you. And I think if you're really tuning into, like, reality is not, this is not reality. Like, yes, we are 3D, yes, we're in the physical world, right? We get that. But that is not the totality of reality. And if we fall asleep, what I call fall asleep inside the dream, and forget this, then we immediately gravitate to stress, anxiety, fear, doubt, worry. I need to figure this out. I'm doing this alone. How am I going to make this happen? Which is hilarious because you don't control any of it, right? And what I love about your work is that it is an easy 7-step solution in your book, Energy in Action, to run that emotional cleanse really simply, like I did it twice already today, and to immediately come out of that and immediately come into a sense of alignment and grace. And the beautiful thing is this, is that your book gives so much alignment to the faith and the truth, that when you do that, you are working in concert and symphony with these universal laws, not trying to fight with your two little hands to make everything happen yourself.
Absolutely. And along the way, there may be things that literally get cleansed from your life. And you really do have to assume that is for you. You know, you may have changes that occur along the way. And I always say, I said it in the book, it's all in the works, right? That was my mantra. It's in the work. It's in the works. And again, following your guidance. And I find when I listen to my inner guidance, the world says, do this, do that. You know, we compare each other, you know, this person's doing that and I'm not doing enough. But if you really, really listen to your inner guidance, it might have something completely different to tell you. You know, it's interesting. I went to I did a cleanse this morning, like you. I landed in the law of giving and receiving, which is corresponding violet ray of light. I can see the color. I'm sure. Did you see color when you were cleansing? Could you see?
No, I don't see colors. When I was reading your book, I was like, oh, this is so beautiful. She sees colors like my sister. I feel energy like I'm getting compacted inside a machine. Like I can feel energy come in, pull out of me. So I'm very sensitive to the like my body will physically rock and move around, but I don't see any colors. I don't see any colors.
Not yet. You will.
Not yet.
Keep cleansing, because again, you will start to see colors. I just started really in the last few months seeing auras. I didn't have that before. I've always been intuitive and I can hear and get that guidance for myself and others, but I wasn't seeing auras, but I believe it's from doing these cleanses because I've not done anything else differently. So you probably will. All of a sudden I'll be looking at someone or even a client. I'll be looking at their aura and they're talking about their problems. And I'm like, oh, if they could only see this beautiful color around them right now, they would just be like, everything's going to be okay. Like it's really there. So I'm curious, what did you cleanse with? So this morning, let me finish my story. I want to know what you cleansed. So I cleansed this morning. I was in the violet ray and I was in the law of giving and receiving. So that was my thing. And it's not only that, the colors are getting brighter. So at first it might be a flash of a color, and then all of a sudden they're getting really deep, you know, really like, wow, beautiful, like color I don't even see in daily life, you know, really vibrant. And so I landed, I was in this beautiful color. So I went to the gym this morning and I did my workout and thing at the gym. I leave the gym, I get in my car, and immediately I'm thinking about something that happened in the past and something that was negative. And I'm like, kind of like going back to it, going, well, you know, kind of revisiting it. And I'm going, why? What am I doing? Here I am, you know, I just went to the gym and I'm revisiting something from the past. It dawns on me. I'm driving down the road. I'm like, honey, you just picked up something in that gym. You can probably relate. Because now I know if I start thinking negative, especially because I'm cleansing all the time, something just happened in my field, right? And I knew when I was in that gym, I had an intuitive hit. I was on my little piece of equipment. I looked at someone across the room and I thought to myself, she's acting odd. Something's odd. That's all I thought. I had an odd feeling, and I don't know if it was that person, but again, your intuitive guidance, right? It didn't hit me till I was driving. I'm like thinking to myself, honey, remember you picked on that odd feeling that this is strange. That's intuition. When something feels a little off, a little weird, you got to cleanse. So I do a cleanse right on the road. And I say, okay, which law do I need to line up with? Which one? I check in, cleanse it. And this is how I know it worked. That beautiful color that I saw in the morning, that violet, came right back and it was all gone. And I thought, okay, I'm restored. I'm back to my natural state again. But that's important. I think that's happening to if you feel things, this must be happening to you all the time. Bernadette.
Yeah. And I think that there's a lot of people that would be listening to your podcast and by the way, your podcast, Just Ask Spirit. People can go and check that out. Your book, Energy in Action, that we're talking about now, about emotional detox and cleanse, aligning with the spiritual laws and amazing practices that we can use. I'm loving your book. People can go and check that out. A lot of people that would be listening to your podcast and my podcast are energetically sensitive. And I think one of the best things you can learn is that sometimes what you're feeling doesn't belong to you. And you're picking up on things. And sensitivity is a gift. It can feel like a problem until you learn that you have to clean your emotional state, like you have to clean your body, girlfriend. You've got to shower your body, you've got to wash your car, you're cleaning your house, you better clean your emotions, because this world is no joke.
It's
right?
no joke.
It's a lot to handle being in this world.
Yeah. But we can cleanse it. So, but I'm curious, what did you cleanse with this morning?
I was like, this book and this woman. So people that are listening that don't know this, Sherry Anna and I only connected like 48 hours ago, and she popped into my inbox and I was like, oh, something about this is so awesome. Yes, let's party. I've been on your podcast, you're on my podcast, and there's just a great vibe, right? And you have come into my life. The universe divinity has brought you to me because this is the message that I need right now. And I did a practice just using the early chapters of the book, going through the 7 steps. And I'm going through another massive life change, which is like people in my community will be like, oh my gosh, this is a story of her life. Everything's always changing. I'm about to move country again. But in the last 9 months, it's everything in my life has died to be reborn. And I mean everything. And it has been immense. And part of the learning in that has been to release all control and completely surrender and give over. And so the small self still likes to go, oh, is this going to go the way I want? And have I got all my ducks in a row and all the things? And so it's that kind of, as things get busier for the big change, it's like the small self wants to get their hands on. So I was cleansing that intensity around, what do I need to do? Is everything in order? And just coming into a state of allowing and receiving. Because I don't know if you find this, but if I look back, people say, how do I trust in divinity? How do I trust in my soul? How do I trust in source? If I look back at my life and get anyone else to look back at their life, if you look at the greatest things that happened in your life, you did not orchestrate that yourself. Yeah.
Yes.
So stop trying to think you need to do that.
I agree wholeheartedly. I love that you did not orchestrate that yourself. And that is the humility piece of spirituality, that which is a huge, huge piece. Again, yes, listeners, we really just met, and it's very difficult to get a quick podcast interview with somebody, right? So that doesn't happen. Usually you've got to book in advance. You've got to hope it all works out. You got to hope they don't cancel. Things like that. Because, life happens and then people are like, sorry, got to cancel, push you out even more. And with you and I, it was just a effortless flow and just an instant alignment. And I think we're supposed to be in each other's lives. But in terms of your small self, it's funny that you say that, because I don't say this to anybody. I've never said this to anybody, but it's amazing to me because you were in a different career not too long ago. Is that correct, Bernadette?
No, I've been doing this for 10 years. So, and
10 years. Okay.
Before this, I was in human resources, career coaching, consulting. But I've had a big change in the last 9 months where spirit has kicked my ass into, that's kindergarten. Now we're getting down to business, girlfriend.
Yeah, I agree with spirit. I mean, I immediately got a feeling around you that you're really, you're going to be moving into real much bigger things in your life. So whatever's happening, I don't know what's going on in your life or what these changes, but I do feel that you just want to give that small, whatever that small thing is that you're referring to, just give that small part of you, and everybody can do this for themselves. Just give that small part of you a big hug and wrap her in the pink ray of light. Just wrap her, just hug her and wrap her. And I think that's what I'm feeling around you right now is she just needs a big dose of hug, but with that beautiful pink ray of light. And that will let her know it's going to be okay, because it is moving fast. And
moving,
I think
so fast.
Yeah, it's moving fast. That's what I feel. And it's more that than anything that brings out that little smallness. It's the quick pace. Yeah. And it's accelerated pace, if anything. It's full steam ahead, and you just got to go with it.
Yeah. And I think we all go through that, right? And that's why we need the tools like you've got in Energy in Action, your new book, The Emotional Cleanse. You need these things to be able to quickly catch yourself when you feel like all of your past is flurrying in front of your eyes, your present is moving at rapid pace. It's like everything is surging. And I think we go through different times in our lives when it's like that, and it's like you can't quite catch your breath. And oh my gosh, like I would normally go to tapping and I would normally go to diaphragmatic breathing, and I love those things and I'll always use them. But this new process, in fact, I think I'm going to screenshot it into my phone or something so I can just learn, practice it every day and really ingrain it. And I think the reason I'm so delighted to have you share this with my community, even though my podcast is new, my community is, we've got people that have been with me for 10 years across the different channels, is that this is an emotional cleansing process merged with these beautiful spiritual laws and divine truths, and this bringing in the rays of light, this kind of divine energy. It's a really practical and very spiritually aligned way of moving through the world when you've got big feelings going on and you're trying to catch up with yourself.
Yeah. Well, what used to take years to move is now moving so fast, right? So you have to think of it as some people would take years sitting in these kinds of emotions or years completing these kinds of patterns. And now we're completing it like 1 week to the next is completely different. I mean, wouldn't you agree, Bernadette? You're like,
I would agree.
One day from the next is so different. And I think we are accelerating and we're purging so fast. And then there's regrowth, and then we purge, and then we regrowth. Go ahead. I
think there's some people have said to me about the purging is a perfect word for it. And there's been people that have said to me, you know what, I thought I was done purging. And for anyone listening, I don't know about you, Sharon, but the last 9 months has been the ego's got to go, the dissolution of the ego and the small self, and saying, you know what, you're not done. And as you ascend in your understanding and in your frequency, and as you cleanse more, the dirt is going to show itself, and it's not wrong or bad. And I think that's been the painful thing, because I thought that I was well done with a lot of the purging and the cleansing of a lot of the things. And oh my gosh, wow, what a humbling experience to be shown by beyond the veil. No, honey, you are not. Like, this is what's up right now. And now you need to start some graduation stuff, because this has got to go. And it's like, wow. Yeah, you've got to be humble to it.
It's almost like levels when I think of it like staircases, and you hit the next floor. But when you hit the next floor, you're almost starting at the beginning again. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I thought I knew everything. Now I'm on this level and I feel like I know nothing. Right. And I felt the same way as you. I thought everything was pretty complete until I started really diving into the laws. And I'm like, oh no, honey, there's some misalignments here that you're cleaning up. So what I did do, which will help you because you mentioned the snapshot in your phone. So this was another thing that came to me. So I have this bookmark. And I can send it to you, but I know you're traveling. So it's on my website. People can, it's $1.97. You can buy it on there just Perfect. post it and send it out to you. But what I do is it's got the spiritual laws and it's got the corresponding race on the bookmark. And so I use it every day I have my book. So I highly recommend you, whatever book you're reading or whatever practice you're doing, you always have that book where you sit every day. Have it out, have it ready. Don't dig around for it. You just, if you're going to do a regular practice, it sits right next to my chair where I have my coffee every morning, and then I do my cleanse. And then what I do is I do the cleanse, and then I also take my finger on this and I just intuitively kind of see, kind of like the way a pendulum would work.
Beautiful.
And I use it as a guide to, I'm drawn to this today. Let me look into that a little bit more. Let me open up that chapter and see how it relates to what I'm currently, my current situation, because there's different stories in each chapter that I tell. And that's really just so you can kind of percolate and see how this relates to what's happening in your life, right? Because it may be similar but different. So that's how I call it, like an intuitive bookmark.
Beautiful. I love that. I love that. So people can get that at your website, sheriannaboyle.com, sheriannaboyle.com for your book and for that. Awesome. That's so sweet. I love that bookmark. It reminds me of my sister. She's a poet, and she was doing intuitive, like opening her poetry book and asking spirit what poem wanted to be read out to people today. It's a really beautiful way of working with something you've created. So that's so awesome that you've created that list, and you can tune into what ray of light is for you that day. So with the book, you recommend that people read it from beginning to end to get the understanding, and then it's something you can dive into to different chapters depending on what's going on in your life at the time.
Yes. Yeah. Do a read through, get to know it. Then it becomes a reference. Then your daily practice really kicks in. It's, again, I always talk about energy, similar to the way it feels when you paint a wall or paint your nails. First coat, oh, that's pretty. Second coat, ooh, that's nice, right? Third coat, now that, right? So kind of think of energy
That's
like
cool.
that. The first coat, yeah, I'm feeling it. Second coat, you're like, okay, getting it. It's starting to resonate. So I like, and that second and third coat are going to be more based on your intuition. So while you're reading the book, you're actually strengthening your intuition because you're noticing, what am I drawn to? Am I drawn to a law? Am I drawn to a ray? Perhaps I'm just drawn to a certain cleanse in the book. And even if you're drawn to the same one, I remember being on the same cleanse for a while, and I'm like, why? Come on, universe. Aren't I ready to be off this cleanse? And I just had to go with it. I had to trust it. No, you keep being drawn to it. Just go with it. Listen. Don't fight it. Don't judge it. Right. And I think that's what the spiritual laws teach us. You know, they teach us not to judge, just to listen, notice, align, trust, kind of thing, and then follow the intuitive guidance. And that's how I met you, Bernadette.
I love that.
Oh yeah. That I had, I saw you somewhere, and I just intuitively felt, I'm going to reach out to her. That was it.
I'm so glad you did. I'm so glad you did.
That was it. It was just completely intuitive guidance. But had I not been cleansing and moving the reality, I might have judged it. I might have been like, oh, I don't know her, no, I trust it because I cleanse every day. Yeah. And therefore I am more inclined to follow that intuitive guidance and not judge it.
It's like, so it's a big yes. It's a yes to your soul. It's a yes to your nudge. It's a yes to divinity. It's also, this is not showing up in my reality for no reason. There's something. I can't dictate what I think I can't say it's going to go a certain way, but it's not here for no reason, right? Person, situation, whatever it is. And I think your book, I read a lot of books and I'm consuming a lot of books because I'm, collaborating with different people. But like this book is like the divine gift to me right now for what I'm moving through. And I said to you before we started recording that I'm in an 8 life path, like manifesting and abundance and power, and all of this stuff about working with universal laws is really important for my journey. It's important for everyone, but it's really highlighted in mine. And I have not understood some really core ones in that. So I'm kind of like obsessed with this book and I can't wait to read more of it. So I'm really grateful for you. And if people want to go and get a copy of that book again, will they get that on your website? Is the best place to go?
They will. So there's the book. And for the first time ever, I wrote a book and I also wrote the Energy in Action course. So they're going to find that there as well. And the reason I did is it was just more downloads were coming after the book was done. So you can also, if you want to do the self-guided course, what they're going to get is the 13, they're going to get a law every day, 13 laws. And I'm going to dive deeper into how to bring this into your everyday life. I don't do the cleanses in the course because that's in the book. I do other things to support it, but I highly recommend that you start with the book. Just first start there. Don't try to do too much at once. They go to sherryannaboyle.com. I would recommend you get the bookmark for $1.97. I think that's worth it.
So cute. It's pretty. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. And that way you have your book and you have your bookmark. And then if you want more, then just know that the course is there for you if you choose to have that.
Perfect. And it's a great toolkit for everybody because we're talking emotional cleansing, emotional healing, energetic alignment, spiritual laws, manifesting, spiritual rituals and practices. Who doesn't need that? It's awesome. I'm loving you. Thank you for taking the time and being here to share with everyone. And I'll make sure that there's links with this episode that people can go through and find out more.
Thank you so much. So grateful and appreciate you.
So that's a wrap, team. Just remember, as you desire to manifest more beautiful experiences in your life, which are your divine birthright, when you want greater purpose, fulfillment, magic, and you want to be aligned with the soul you are, remember that you don't have to struggle and tussle with your mind and try to make it focus on what you want. That old school, old world model of trying to force our way forward and using our mind power. Yes, the mind is powerful, but remember to turn inward and remember that your energy and your emotions are a big part of what is creating your experience of life. So by cleansing our emotions, we can slip into a state of greater ease. And when you do that, your intuition is heightened, your awareness rises, your vibration lightens, and everything starts to flow with a little more ease and grace, more signs and synchronicities and miracles unfolding. If you need more help, if you loved this episode, come over and visit me at www.bernadettelogue.com. That's Bernadette Logue, Logue.com. You'll find on my website a free guide called Soul Answers, helping you to tune into what your soul wants you to know for any questions that you may have, for any challenges you're facing, for any unmet goals and desires that you have. Your soul has answers for you right here and right now to support you to move forward. You'll find that free guide at Bernadettelogue.com, and I look forward to seeing you again really soon. Thanks for listening to Practical Spirituality with B. I'll talk to you next episode for more spiritual advice for your everyday life, helping you align with your soul so you can live with purpose, fulfillment, and magic.